Another continuum of well-being comes from the unconscious adoption of one's cult or culture, in which I was born here, so I eat this. I was born here, so I talk like this. I was born here, so I believe these religious beliefs. And the first step is entering the system. The next step in this development of well-being continuum is to leave the system. Now, you leave your cultural system by getting in a plane and seeing what it's like in Thailand, living there for a month. Going to places that are completely different than your own status quo. And what this will do, if you will spend time with the intention of asking the question, what do they do in this place better than I've been doing my entire life? More efficiently, more fun, more profitably, better environment, more, whatever it is. Every system does something better than the system in which you were raised, the cult in which you were raised. And so the step is to spend enough time in one or more other cultures to where you have grasped all of the things they do better than your system does. This is on the outer side. Now, that still doesn't change your operating system. So now we have inner travel. To travel on the inside, you need to interrupt your identity. You have a habit of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing. And to some extent, you can bring that identity wherever you travel on the globe. And that's me. And the cult of ego is incredibly self-referential. You say, well, why don't you give money to charity? Well, that's not what I do. That's not me. Don't tell me what to do. I'm me, you're you. Let other people give things to charity. I don't do that. Or I do that, but I don't make money, whatever it is. The need to know who we are is so strong that we tend to hang on to however we happen to form randomly or organically in our situation. That we have no idea that we could be, that we could have an identity of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing in the exact same situation very differently. We've just never done it, and we don't want to. And this is called inner travel. This is where you get to meet parts of yourself that you've never met before. And the process of doing that in the inner travel is most facilitated by transcendent or altered states. Now, in some tribes, you developed an altered state by fasting for 3 days in the hot sun, and you had a vision, and you saw things in a different perspective. And the members of that tribe would not consider you an adult or able to bring objective perspective until you'd had some kind of connection with a deeper part of yourself, with a deeper part of your brain that was not cult dogma, because every cult has dogma in it. And so if the cult or culture or tribe is faced with a unique situation, the dogma is often not what's going to get you out of that. You've got to have access to some part of you that is not dependent on your past experience, or you are less valuable to your tribe. So you have dancing for 3 nights. You have fasting. Certain people in sexual experiences, the orgasmic release takes them into the transcendent region of the brain, the endogenous DMT, meaning we live in a bizarre scenario where we have a Schedule 1 drug in our own brain. The brain makes DMT, and DMT induces transcendent states. And certain qualities of love and tenderness and relationship and orgasm, certain dreams, certain visions, release that DMT, and we have a transcendent state where we meet the part of us who watches the identity and is not the identity. You have no objectivity if you are self-referentially defined by, I am this way because I am this way, because I was that way, and that's why I am this way. There's no way out of that loop. And innovation stultifies in that loop, in the same way that cult innovation stultifies when this is the way we do things. I mean, it's why the Christian religion is dying. We do this book because we do this book, because God said to look at this book, and we look at this book. And the book isn't changing. It's not iterating. So it's becoming more and more outdated. Don't eat pork on this because, why? Pork was more contagious at the time and they didn't have microwaves. You know, you've got to separate in order to iterate what's just habit and what's new. And to do that, you have to have an outer experience that's completely different from your cult that you value. If you don't value it, you haven't left your cult. You're looking at it from your static reference points. Now, psychedelics are, mushrooms, MDMA, DMT, 5-MeO-DMT. All of these are altered states. If you experience just 10 hours of who am I with this compound, and then you go back to who I was before, now you have the kind of differentiation that's similar to the sympathy-antipathy synthesis. Meaning you can't be an adult in your culture if you've never known anything else. You're a child. You do it because you've always done it, because your grandparents always did it. To be an adult in your culture, you have to travel. And the adult state is, I did this when I left the US. I was sick of the materialism. I was sick of talking about ideas and not connecting more warmly. So I went to Thailand. They don't talk about ideas. They smile at strangers. They're much more spontaneous with their time. They have absolutely fabulous foods. They let me cook in their restaurants. It's a completely different world. I'd never experienced so much freedom. So I went into the antithesis. Fuck America. I like being in Thailand. But the adult stage comes when you have enough perspective where you start to see, they have different problems in Thailand. They let their daughters become prostitutes so the brother can go to college. Highly chauvinistic. I don't like that part of Thailand. But they do many things better than my culture, and my culture does many things better than Thailand. Traffic's better, the air quality in tourist areas is better in the US. So you move from the sympathy, the blind sympathy, to the antipathy. Then you move to the synthesis, and there are things that I take back into my culture, and this is the adult stage, to come back to your culture and bring gifts. Gifts from the other culture, insights, understanding. For example, in Thailand, no homelessness. So I learned, how do they not have homelessness there? And I'm bringing that to my county. Now, similarly, in the psychedelic experience, what does psychedelic me on DMT know and do and see that this me doesn't know and do and see? What does mushroom me do and see and think and feel that I don't do, see, and think and feel? And how do I want to borrow from that? An example, I felt like giving my crew a major raise while taking one of my first MDMA experiences. Me normally thought, what a ripoff. They've got to earn it. I earned it. I worked up bit by bit, this, that, and the other. What a ripoff. Terrible idea. But this me thought it was a great idea. I thought, let's give it a shot. Crew loyalty went up. I made more money that year. I didn't expect it. That's the benefit of diversity. Now, it's an incredibly tricky situation in many parts of the world where healthy medicinal plants that have been used in ceremonial situations were banned by the Nixon administration for political reasons because Nixon was conservative and a lot of liberals were taking acid at the time. So if he wanted to destroy the liberal power bases by turning LSD into a Schedule I drug despite its therapeutic benefits, he could then arrest a lot of his political opponents, and it's a disastrous situation to be in that situation. Now, because of that, the science and the safety is tremendously compromised in Western cultures around these compounds. So you can get into tremendous problems, legally, health-wise, supply chain. So I just want to put in a caveat. I recommend a minimum of 50 hours of study on safety and all that can go wrong. In fact, I made a YouTube channel called Psychedelic Safety because of all the things that went wrong for me, thanks to our government's complicity in blocking science. But in order to iterate your identity, you have got to have an altered state, be it transcendent sexual, fasting, dancing, chanting. You've got to connect with the transcendent brain at least a bit. And psychedelic compounds, which were traditionally done as, very rare. The Greeks had a 9-day ritual that was just once, an initiation into the illusion mysteries. But that shift, the ability to get to know yourself outside of cult reference and identity reference, provides you the antithesis that you need to be an adult around your identity and an adult around your culture. Because the adult is a new iteration of the old. It's not blind copying. And in that way, you become useful to evolution.